lengthy presentation, but it's meant to be meant to give you all kinds of detail. It's meant to give you all kinds of detail about what is about to happen. Now, the budget takes effect May 1st, so there's still some more steps to go, and we'll talk about that at the end. That's how you know we're at the end, when we talk about the final steps before the general manager hands over the budget to the board, and the board considers it at the February meetings. So before I go any further, let me introduce who else is on the call from the senior staff. We have Charlie Manival, the Director of Finance. So wave at us, Charlie. There's Charlie. And so when we get into the fee schedule, Charlie's going to tell you about it. We do have some changes in the fee schedule we need to discuss. We have James Bobby Jones, the Director of Facilities. There's Bobby. Of course, he's been working on snow removal the last few days. So this is the office part of his job, but he's been in the field quite a bit. Bobby's going to cover our capital projects today. And Carolyn Broder. Carolyn is the communications manager, and she's also going to be our new assistant general manager. So say hi, Carolyn. There she is.
Hello.
All right. All right. So it's all nice to have you all here, and let's plunge right in. So the first slide is, and I hope you all can see it, is about the budget overview. So let me give you a snapshot of where we are. And when you see the budget, there's a page called the budget summary, and that's really sort of a page that has all the changes on it, all the different things. So you can see that there's quite a few items that are going up in the new budget. The operations spending is going to $9,641,761, and that's an increase of $961,232. So the operations spending is going up. So you'll want to know why, and we're going to get into that. Contribution to reserves, and sometimes called CTR. CTR is going up. It's at 1.9. It's 1,958,555, and that's going up 260,538. So why did that one go up? Let's get into that one. And then something called new asset and improvement. This is a capital related item, and it's going up almost $300,000. You see the 299, 268, and that's a change from last year when we held back on those kinds of projects. So you'll see the next number is in parentheses, and that's a good thing for when you're calculating the assessment, because that means we're getting some other funds that's going to help us balance, and we're going to talk about those. New construction and renovation and cash surplus applied to the budget in the amount of $560,000. And so over $500,000 is coming from another source to help buy down the assessment, if you will. So the total budget is $11,339,584, and that's an increase of $961,038. So almost $1 million in increase. And so we're going to want to know why, and we're going to explain that. So we think of the budget, we think of the assessment in three pieces. We think of it as our operations. We think of it as the Clubhouse complex project loan, and we think of it as, and that gives us our proposed assessment per lot. It's ongoing operations and capital replacement is the first line. So that first line is $1,665. And then you see the CARC project, and by policy, we've been putting in $191. This was calculated a few years ago to pay on the principal and interest. So the proposed assessment per lot is $1,856, or an increase of $117, or 6.7% on the increase. So $117 more, 6.7% increase going into the last day before I hand the budget over to the board. So would be interested in your input. So why is assessment going up? Let's look at that page. Well, you can see the changes in revenue and the changes in spending. The spending is going up and revenue is going up, but the subsidy, what we need for the assessment, is still a large number. So the increase in subsidy per lot is about, it's rounded up to be $117. So you can see operation spending is accounting for a lot of this. So let's look at it. So we wanted to give you a page to give you the budget drivers. What's really driving this budget, both on the revenue side, either more revenue or less revenue, and then on the expenditure side, either more expenditures or less expenditures. So we made a list of things for you, because it's pretty complex when you get a budget $11 million level. There's a lot going on. So first of all, inflation of 6% or more is expected, and this should not be a surprise to you. You see it everywhere. Inflation is all about us. If it's on the news, it'll be in a lot of the national news stories. Well, it's affecting us here in Locust Grove, here at dear old Lake of the Woods Association. So inflation is just everywhere you turn, and affecting us not only in our contracts, but supplies and our materials, et cetera. And so we built in a 6% inflation factor. All right, the second item, what does that mean? Level 2 reserve study cost impact. Well, we're a very healthy community association, and we have a reserve study that tells us what the inevitable replacement of items are going to cost. And guess what? Those inevitable items that we have to replace cost more next year and in the years to follow. So that the cost of replacement is going up. So the third item, new asset improvement projects. We did add some new projects, and we'll explain those, what those are, but those added in. We didn't have those last year because it was a holdback COVID-19 year. The next one is wage pressures. It's going to cost us more to retain the staff that we have, and we're seeing it all over. We're seeing it in contracts as well. They're passing on their wage pressures with the minimum wage going up and up again. It's going to impact us. We just had an adjustment to $11, and during this budget year, it'll go up to $12. So that's just part of the wage pressure. And some jobs will mean that you have to give wages raises above that just to keep up with the cost of living. So LOA and LOA's contractors will have wage pressures. The next one is the stormwater management crew. This is a 3-person crew that would serve in the roads department that would help clean the leaves out of ditches and help us clean ditches and keep them working efficiently. That would be their primary duty, and they would also be available to the roads department to do other things, but that's primarily what they're going to do. Leaf removal during leaf season, and in non-leaf season, they would be working to clean out culverts to keep them working properly. So this is an addition of 3 people in the roads department, and the associated cost of that is $103,000, and it was part of the board guidance to the general manager, which essentially was build the budget with this crew in it. Some additional things. The next one is the 4th of July and related activities. Well, you remember last year we held back quite a bit. We didn't have 4th of July, and we didn't have 4th of July. We had it on September 4th, but we held back on some of the community events. Well, this year we put them back in. So this is the full 4th of July package with rides and kids events at the point, along with the fireworks. And there's related activities for families, et cetera, built into this. Also, the last item, I mentioned this before. We've tried to mitigate this increase by using some funds that total $560,000, and that's going to help quite a bit with the assessment. It helped decrease the assessment by $131.48 per lot. So that had a big impact. So these are the kinds of things that are helping form the budget that we have. Let's talk a little about budget preparation. a lot goes into preparing a budget, and it starts with the general manager working with the operations managers and looking at actual revenues and expenditures, looking at board goals and guidance. I just talked about that. And actually the board guidance was don't let the assessment, if possible, don't let the assessment go above 6%. And right now we're at 6.7%. So board said, keep it to 6 if you can. We're at 6.7. So we're pretty close. But there's an argument to be made that inflation's even going beyond 6. It's going higher. But anyway, so board goals and guidance, government, utilities and vendors, operations center plans, inflation and other conditions, local market and the economy. All that goes into preparation. And even before we have this meeting tonight, there have been meetings on the budget. In the December timeframe, we had meetings with the joint finance and planning committees. Two of these committees met together and they went over the budget. And that process always results in savings and refining the budget and helping it be a better budget than it is. So please know that the finance committee and the planning committee has weighed in already, and we've met with the finance committee in a follow-up meeting to discuss some of their ideas, and we've adopted some of their ideas, and we'll talk about some of those tonight. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, this is kind of colorful. It's not a bunch of words, so let's look at it and see if we understand what's going on. Where does the revenue come from? Okay, so this year you can see that it's really big. 3 big pie pieces. One is the assessment. Well, there's an argument to be made. All the money comes from members, just in different forms, and that's true for the most part. And 63% of this year's revenue is going to come from the assessment. But wait, there's more. There's amenity revenues. So think about going to the restaurants when you buy a meal at the Clubhouse or you buy a meal at Fairways. That's going in toward the bottom line in amenity revenues. Also, the annual memberships in golf and pickleball, fitness, riding lessons. All that goes into forming up the amenity revenue, which is 32%. And then there's administrative fees. And one particular one is the tenant fee. The tenant fees and the administrative fees. And there are other ones such as late fees and when there's transfer fees and resale package fees and those kinds of things. So when you look at the budget, it really divides up into those 3 parts, and you can see it's roughly a 60-40 split, but this year the assessment is 63%. So that's where the money comes from to pay for all the things that we do in the association. And every year is balanced. We balance it out. It has to be a balanced budget, and so that's where the money comes from. So where does the assessment go? And you can see that this is a really good chart to get a sense of where your money's spent. And so first of all, you can see that of the 1856 for the assessment, $527 of that is going to maintenance. So that's roads, grounds, general maintenance, lakes related, environmental resource type spending. All that's in maintenance. So that's the biggest chunk. And that really, I think that's a healthy sign too, that in our community, that's a big chunk of what we do is we maintain what we have. It's a healthy sign when you see a wet paint sign. It's a healthy sign when you see something being replaced, because it means we're keeping up. Second of all, you see the next part is reserves, $398. That's also a healthy sign. It shows that we're not pushing off into the future these inevitable expenditures that we have to make to keep our buildings going and keep our amenities going. It means we're being honest about what we need to do. And so that amount is a large amount in the budget too. And then the amenities, it costs something to provide these amenities and have them for all the members to take advantage of. And so that's $254. Administration, the oversight, and the finance department part of that is $304. Then we have the CARC Clubhouse area recreation complex loan, and that 191 is going to service that loan, pay for that principal and interest to get that paid off. And the last one is security. A lot of our money goes into security because we have a gated community. We have a security force that inspects our buildings, patrols our roads to maintain good, safe conditions, and supports the sheriff, which is a big part of what they do. So that's $181. So that's where the assessment's going in really big, broad pie chart pieces. All right. Here's another look at it. We did the coin stack, so you can see the way that expenditures are going. And I guess I would, since I just went over that, I wanted to point out that the contribution to reserves is that big stack on the right. That's a very healthy sign for our community. I mentioned administration, that's the far one on the left. That's a large one. And sort of that second largest piece on the right side, that's general maintenance. Then in the middle, if you see, there are a couple of items that are really are sort of interesting that I think some of you know. The fitness center pays for itself and sends money to the bottom line. But this year we're expecting Fairways Cafe to break even and add some money to the bottom line of our association. So without going over each one of these, I would just tell you that's an interesting change. We've gotten to the point where Fairways is at the break even point, and they may even break even this year. That's even better than being budget. That's saying they cover all their expenses without a subsidy. Okay, let's go on to ongoing operations, maintenance, and capital replacement. This is another look at the budget, and you can see the operations. The revenue that we have toward it is 4.2, and the expenses are 9.6, and the difference is that almost 5.4 million that we need for the subsidy. The contribution to reserve, that's how much we set aside for replacement items, is almost 1.7 in that. And when you total that up, it's a little over $7 million. And that means that it's $1,665 per lot for ongoing operations and maintenance and capital replacement. And you can see at the bottom of this slide how it breaks out. $1,266 for operations, $399 for capital assessment, and then you add the $191 for the CARC loan, and you get up to $1,856 per lot. All right. So now the next phase of this presentation, we're going to talk about some of the operating budgets, and we have operating budgets built around programs, and I'm going to get some help from Carolyn Broder on this. And the first thing I want to point out is the change in administration, and it looks like $580,697 more dollars will be spent in administration. It's like, what's going on? What more is happening there? Well, the main thing is it's how we showed some money that went into last year's budget. We showed it in the administration line, but we thought it was more transparent. It was easier to see if we showed it in a different place in the budget, and it's on the summary page of the budget, and you can see that 580 amount there. So it's going to be we think a little easier to find on this, but that means the administration budget looked like there was a big change. So the reallocation of the NCR and the cash surplus is out of that line and onto another place. So that's the admin budget. Also in this budget, that's where the AGM, Assistant General Manager, is funded. And so we have some shifting of funds from communications, where Carolyn is the manager, to admin to cover that position. Security, we have a security force that works 24/7. And the proposal for this year is higher by $37,833. Well, what's driving that? There's a couple of things. First of all, the contract costs more because our officers cost more to keep on the job. But also, we're anticipating that we'll have less revenue from summonses. And why is that? A lot of it has to do with the way that we give $50 summonses, and because the recent referendum on fees, assessing charges for different matters failed, we're not able to count on as much revenue. And so it's showing here in the security line. Now, we still have the $50 speeding ticket and those kinds of things, but there are some other revenue we're not going to see anymore. We'll have to do it, and we'll have to get enforcement a different way other than giving out summonses for those. And so that's going to result in about $38,000 more. All right, I've talked on and on, but I'd like to hand off to Carolyn at this point. And could you just take us through the next few operations? This is the operating budget. So the next one is communications, and no one better qualified than Carolyn to take us through this and the next few. Thank you, Carolyn.
Yep. So as you can see, this is the operating budget. You can see we start with communications here, and we're actually looking at a favorable change in this case of $6,327. Part of that is we had anticipated there is slightly higher revenue. There's lower salary expenses with my my salary moving into the administration portion of the budget. And there were also some anticipated changes to postage, for example, that didn't come to fruition because of the way we do mail around here. The insertion of the lake currents as opposed to using the postage for that. Next slide, please. Looking at the fitness center here, you're going to see again the fitness center usually carries a very favorable balance. We're expecting an increase in memberships. There's also an increase in fees for memberships. And you can see that there's a $65,981 favorable variance. The fitness center is one of our more popular amenities, and it's always fared very well. Next up is the equestrian center. Again, you'll see a $1,852 favorable variance there. And Bridget does her best to moderate her budget and to meet those needs of those horses, despite the increases in agricultural prices and feed costs. She does her best to meet that budget and mitigate those costs. Pools, you'll see increase that there's a negative variance of $64,520. This is largely due to the increase in the pool contractor costs. They are experiencing the same types of inflation that we are facing, the rest of the world is facing. They've had to adjust their salaries to be able to retain high quality lifeguards, to be able to hire high quality lifeguards. And they've also run into many challenges where because of COVID, lifeguard training courses were stopped for a good chunk of 2020 and part of 2021. And so they've had to they've seen an increase in training expenses as well in order to rehire from scratch lifeguards to do those jobs. So that's largely where that increase comes from. In community activities, you'll see a negative variance of $21,302. And that is because we've added back in the fireworks and the 4th of July activities. And I think the community is happy with that. That's an increase that I hope that the community is happy that we are bringing back those types of activities.
Okay. Thank you, and I can round this out with look at golf, clubhouse, and fairways, and then we'll go on to maintenance. So golf operations, we expect to have another $43,210 in revenue from golf operations that will help keep the assessment down. That's a favorable variance. We think that we're going to see increased memberships, and we're also going to see increased product sales. We held back on pro shop sales in the past, and we think we're going to do better on memberships and pro shop sales. Also, one of the the variables that we are in the middle of pinning down, that we'll pin down in early February, is the cost of golf maintenance. The golf maintenance contract, we contract out for that service, and we're interviewing companies right now, and we have a number that we've plugged in to the budget, and that should be enough. And so I don't anticipate much change there, but we are waiting. We won't know until February 5th what that final number is for the golf maintenance contract. The next item is the clubhouse. Now, for both clubhouse and fairways, we really hedged it when it came to revenue from our restaurants. And if you remember, during the COVID environment, it was anyone's guess what restaurant sales were going to be like. But we do believe that we can count on additional sales based on what we've seen in recent months, and we think we'll come out 146,617 to the good. We'll have more revenue that'll help the bottom line from the clubhouse. So increased member participation in banquets. We had to cancel quite a few banquets last year, and we hope to maintain the ones that we've already booked and even add more. Okay, Fairways Cafe, that we anticipate quite a jump there, $105,083. As I said, we anticipate that budget will cover all expenses and actually break even in this coming year. So congratulations to Fairways on what they've been able to accomplish today and what they're going to accomplish. And Ryan Richardson is the food and beverage director over both Clubhouse and Fairways. All right, if we look at the next page, you'll see the maintenance departments, and it's really 4 different ones. And there's general maintenance, and that what we're seeing there is there's going to be increases in salaries and benefits, and a lot of that, as I said, is just inflationary pressures. That's going to go up 94,402. The roads department. Now that's where the leaf crew, or as I called it officially, the stormwater management crew is. And but also there's an offset. We moved the chip and tar program to the capital budget, and this is the net result that the subsidy is going to grow 15,727. So that includes the new crew, but it also means the chip and tar program went over to the capital side. And that was all part of the board policy changes to account for the expenditures related to roads. Also, the board has a long-term goal to convert our chip and tar roads to asphalt roads in the future. Grounds is the next one, and it's increased salaries and benefits, and it goes up 36,686. Environmental resources, that's a lot of that's around lakes. It's also lakes dredging and related items, and that budget goes up 15,431. So overall, you can see that that the departments are counting for almost $500,000 of increases, 497,528. You see there in the bottom in yellow. All right, let's go to the next page. Contribution to reserves. This is what we're setting aside for replacement. We have a reserve study that we go by. We follow state guidelines as far as hiring a reserve company to come in and go over all of our items, all of the components of all our buildings and all the amenities. And as a result, that gives us the repair and replacement item, or sometimes we call it the R&R. And so that's 1,958,555. So that number represents 260,538 increase from the previous year. And often when you do a reserve study, there is an increase because the reserve specialist who's an engineer, is going to know a lot of what items cost out in the market, and wants to make sure that we're reserving enough to pay for those over time. And we do fully fund the R&R reserve study in this budget. Now, new assets and improvements is new capital. It's items that's in addition to what we need for replacement, and that you can see is almost 300,000. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we use NCR and cash surplus to help to buy down the assessment by 560,000. and that's 280,000 each, adding to that for a total CTR of 1,697,823, or about $194 change from previous. So you divide the 1,697,823 by the 4,259 lots, and you get the 399 contribution to reserve. All right, let's look at the next one. So capital contribution to reserves for this replacement next year and years to follow is different than what we actually spend. Some years we'll need to put away more reserves than we actually spend. And so the case here is for R&R, we're going to need 2,657,217, and a change from previous year of 1,225,788. So that's going up, but there is a capital project that's in there that we're spending. We've been saving money for it over the last few years. It's our stormwater management project that we've worked with engineer to design. It'll go from basically Hollyfield Park all the way down to the small marina, and it'll improve the drainage in that watershed through there. And so that's a $1.2 million project included in capital spending. So that's R&R. And then new assets and improvements, you can see it's almost 300,000 as we covered, and that's up 196,868 from the previous year. Contingency, we don't need to add to that this year. We have 100,000 in the contingency, and that's by policy. And so at this point, contingency reserve does not need to be added to. So the total capital spending is you can see almost 3 million. It's 2,956,485, and it's actually down a little over 1.4 million from previous. All right, so that's capital spending, different from what we put in contribution to reserves. Now, at this point, I'd like to go over the capital spending plan. And Bobby, I'd ask that you just highlight a couple of projects per page, and you don't necessarily need to go over these. We can respond to them in questions if we need to. So if you'll just highlight the big projects that you see on each sheet. So I'll turn it over to Bobby Jones. He's going to look at our replacement capital spending.
Thank you, Phil. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bobby Jones, your Director of Facilities. Okay, a couple key projects on this first page. All right, we have some work over at the Equestrian Center. We're going to be replacing the wood fence over at the lower ring and also at paddocks number 4 and 5, and also doing some paddock restoration work. Pickleball and tennis courts, those are up for some repairs. As you can see listed here, court 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, for both color coding and refurbishing work is due for repairs. Sweetbriar Pool, both in our main pool and our activity pool, you will see listed here a white coat. Next page. All right. Following along on the pool theme, main pool we've got our white coat and expansion joint. This is, of course, over at Clubhouse Pool, $71,460. Over on our golf course, on fairway number 10 hole, we've got an erosion and control planning and design costs, $30,000 listed here. That's to pay a consulting firm to come up with a design to help alleviate some of the collapsing drainage culvert pipes that we've got going on out there. Bulkhead work that's up. Flat run access where we built the forebay. That area down there is up for bulkhead replacement. $25,200 is our estimate. Our salt and sand storage shed, which is really key right now during some of these snow events, it's up for replacement. Both the roof and the shed are listed on two different items there, as you can see, $7,200 and $16,920. On the next page, all right, one of our key pieces of equipment here in maintenance is our backhoe. It's listed here as the 2006 Case 580 SM backhoe loader with four-wheel drive. This is up for replacement at $120,000. Another key project, Lakeview Parkway, asphalt resurfacing. This is in the 5th leg of the replacement, and it's for the areas of 10,600 to the 15,000 addresses. The amount listed here is estimated at just under $240,000. Going along with additional asphalt work, you can see below that, Riverdale Lane over by our main marina is up for replacement. And along with the main marina parking lot, both of those are due for resurfacing. Amounts of $71,144 and $41,746 respectively. As Phil mentioned earlier, our tar and chip program has been moved from our operating budget over here to the capital side. It's listed. Phase B is next, which is sections 2, sections 3, and sections 4, $132,901. We've also got some asphalt replacement work for our golf cart pass. 3 holes comes to a total of $140,516. We've got stormwater management improvement listed here, $142,800. This money will be used for the Patrick Henry to Small Marina Drainage Improvement Project. And those are some of our highlighted projects.
All right, Bobby, you want to take us through the pictures?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Okay, so on this first slide we've got here, this is our pickleball and tennis courts for the color coat and refurbishing that we just mentioned, $139,920. You can see some of the cracking in this gray section here in this photo. Next slide. All right, this is our backhoe that we use daily here in maintenance. This is our 2006 case model that's up for replacement. This is a key piece of equipment for every Friday. We use it for manure removal. We use it when we've got storms right now for snow removal. We use it for loading salt and sands, unloading trucks, loading trucks. It's a very key piece of equipment here in the maintenance department. Next slide. Next slide shows our Lakeview Parkway resurfacing, phase 5. If you're looking at the different colored sections, the color you're going to want to look at is the pink section to the top left of the photo, in between the 2 yellow sections. And then also again, at the very front gate in your lower right, you can see Lake of the Woods Way is also a part of this project. Next slide. This is a photo of our guys applying the tar and chip to the roads. This program, again, has been moved from our operating budget over to this capital side, $132,901. Next slide. All right, 3 holes up for resurfacing on our golf cart pass. As you can see here in the photo, you can see the cracking going across, lots of it from trees and roots, $140,516 to mill down and resurface 3 of our cart paths. Next slide, please. All right, this next slide is for the Patrick Henry Stormwater Management Improvement Project, Patrick Henry Small Marina Drainage Project. $142,800 is set aside for this. This is a culvert and drainage pipe upgrade and ditch upgrade project that has some stormwater storage basins along the way as well. Will help out with both flooding mitigation and stormwater and drainage improvement in those areas. All right, next slide. Next slide, we have lots of culverts around our neighborhood. We've got set aside $76,500 to replace the most damaged and needed culverts for next year. Next slide. We get into our new assets and improvements for this section. Next slide we have listed is the Patrick Henry Court Small Marina Drainage Improvement Project. This is a construction aspect of this project. Phase 1 and Phase 1A come to a total of $266,268. Next slide, please. Next slide. This is a photo of our main gate. We have $30,000 set aside for design and engineering for our main gate and third gate project. Next slide, please. We have a speed indicator sign. You can see one that we have installed currently near Veterans Memorial Dam on Lakeview Parkway. An additional sign to help curb speeding is listed as a $3,000 estimate. Next slide.
Bill, you're on mute.
You're muted, sir.
All right, thank you, Bobby. So now let's talk a little bit about headcount, and if we need to, we can answer more questions about the capital budget. What's changing when it comes to the lowest staff? And you can see that on the left side for this coming year, that should read 2022-2023. Our headcount goes up to 152. And that breaks down into full-time and part-time, 62 full-time and 90 part-time. I would say the 90 part-time fluctuates depending on the season. You can imagine we get into the summer months, we need more people, more part-time help, not only at, say, the clubhouse, but also at the golf course, at the gas dock on the main lake, et cetera. So our full-time count goes up 3 positions, and those are the 3 stormwater management crew members that are in the roads department. The part-time goes up to 2, and there's one that we have a part-time person that's being added to our environmental resources department to help with violation enforcement. Again, because we couldn't get the referendum passed, we expect to have some more expenses related to that. We may have to take people all the way to court to resolve issues. We hate to do that, but we begin the process with the idea we want to get it resolved immediately. And this part-time person is going to help us try to do that. Get in contact with someone about a violation immediately and try to resolve things before they go any farther. The other part-time person is a seasonal assistant golf pro at the pro shop, and we're just naming that position in the budget. Although it's not a full-time, it would just be a new person in the field that would want to get some experience, and we would tap into their knowledge. That person would work in the pro shop. So that's what's happening on the head count. So let's talk about, we talked some about the fee changes. Sorry, we talked some about the assessment change, but in order to make this budget work, we've had to increase changes in the fee schedule. And I'd ask Charlie Manival, our finance director, if he could summarize some of the key aspects of our fee changes. So take it away, Charlie.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charlie Manival, your director of finance. And this year with the fees, it was a challenge to get down to the 6% guidance that the board gave us. And one of the items we took a real hard look at this year was a fee schedule. And we made changes to about 84 different fee items for the community. And we went through line by line and looked at the impact of each one of them. And as a result, we were able to reduce the overall assessment by about $22 for the year, just based on making all these changes. Some of the big ones, every year we have to change the tenant fee registration based on the actual assessment, so that automatically changes. We are increasing the late charge for those who pay late on their assessments from $50 to $80. And we're also increasing the annual assessment credit card transaction fee from $25 to $35 to help cover the costs that we incur there. We've also, on the legal review for joint lot joinder, division, and drainage easement relocation, we're bumping those costs up by by $25 from $150 to $175. And then new construction and renovation fees, we're increasing the additions up to 120 square foot, and the additions over 120 square foot up to a $3 amount per square foot from $1.60 and $2.65. For the Marina and Lakes, we are bumping up the slip rental charges. For large slip, we're bumping up from $825 to $925 per year, and the small slip rental from $760 to $860. And then the annual dry sale is we're recommending be increased from $385 to $400, and the canoe kayak fees from $30 to $45. The vehicle storage and the RV boat storage goes from $450 to $470. And then on boat registrations, we've done increases across the board on all the boat registrations, starting from the man-powered up to 8 foot and going all the way down to the over 400 horsepower. We've bumped up all those costs as well. On the golf memberships, we're bumping those up again. Again, for the individual membership, we're bringing up $1,075 to $1,125, and with trail fee from $1,500 to $1,550, and with cart rental up from $1,700 to $1,750. Family memberships are going to go up about $50 from $1,925 to $1,975, and then we're at $50 for the with trail fee and with cart rental fee. We're also introducing a new program this year, the Individual Young Executive Program, and it's a new program, so there was obviously no fees for that last year, but those will start out with $675 for the basic Individual Young Executive Program, and go up to $1,050, and then for Family Young Executive Program would go from $1,185 to with cart rental to $1,875. We are also adding a new prepaid 11-round club pass. For 18 holes, that will be $400, and for 9 holes, that will be $220. And then we're moving up the daily fees for 18-hole walk from $28 to $33, and the ride from $40 to $45. And the 9 holes would go from $15 to $20, and the ride would go from $25 to $30. And we're making some other changes as well to the same-day replay and the daily twilight fees. For the golf club continuing, annual golf club guest pass would go from $1,900 to $2,000, and the daily fees for guests would go from $32 to $37 for the walk, and for the ride is $45 to $50, and then 9 holes would be $22 to $27, and the 9-hole ride would be $32 to $37, roughly $5 increase across the board there. And then we made changes to same-day replay of $5 from $20 to $25, and the daily twilight fees, again, of $5 from $25 to $30 for the walk, and $30 to $40 for the ride. And then we've made some adjustments for the handicap fees. We've added a reservation no-show fee, and we bumped up the bag storage fee. For the pools, we bumped up the 10 visit passes from $25 to $35, the 20 visit passes from $40 to $50, and the 30 visit passes from $45 to $55. On the fitness center, we've increased the individual membership from $132 to $144. The couple membership we're increasing from $150 to $192. And the annual family, we're increasing from $180 to $240. And then we're adding for the 7-day pass for the passes for the residents, bringing it from $30 to $35, and the guest pass is going from $60 to $70. For the equestrian center, we're bumping up the monthly boarding fees for residents from $450 to $500, and guests would go from $475 to $600. And then we're increasing the half-hour trail rides from $30 to $50 for residents, and from $50 to $55 for guests. For 1 hour trail rides for residents, we're bringing that up from $45 to $65, and for guests from $60 to $70. For campground, the annual campground fee is increased from $1,300 to $1,365, and the weekly RV fees would go from $210 to $220. And then we made changes to daily RV and daily tent fees as well. The Lot A storage area, we're increasing from $450 to $470 on an annual basis. And then we move into pickleball tennis. We're increasing the annual individual membership from $45 to $60. And then the annual family pickleball tennis membership from $85 to $100. That summarizes up all the key changes.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. And you weren't kidding. There were a lot of changes there. But as I said earlier, the purpose of those changes, which were supported by both the Finance Committee and the Planning Committee, were to keep the general assessment from going up any further than it already is. So that was a conversation we had with the joint Finance and Planning Committee back in December, and we made that adjustment to increase those fees. It's a tricky thing. You want to make sure that members still use the amenities and get the most out of them, but also we got to keep up with market forces, and some of these just have to do with adjusting to what the market would bear for those services. Okay, so we're on to the slide of where, and this is signaling we're at the end. This is additional opportunities for input. So tomorrow is a board meeting at 2:00. You're always welcome. We always welcome members, and the board always welcomes members to make comments during board meetings. To do that at the beginning of the meeting, so you want to get the Zoom information and zoom in for that meeting and make any comments you want to make there. At the February 5th meeting, that's traditionally where the board makes its amendments to the budget. It's been amendments to the board, the budget that I give the board on January 19th. They'll make their amendments on February 5th. And then at the mid-month meeting in February, that's when the budget resolution will be passed and it'll be finalized. But any amendment really has to come to that February 5th meeting. So any input really after that point is likely to be too late unless it's an adjustment because we made some sort of error or something like that. So all the amendments are really steered toward the February 5th meeting. So how do you contact us? Well, if you want to contact me, write me at gmoffice@loa.org. And as I said, tomorrow I'll be handing off this draft budget to the board. So be sure and write me tonight if you have any ideas. And all of us here on the Zoom call will take a look at it. You can also email the board at board@loa.org, and they'll respond. You'll get a reply from our board secretary, Rick Rappaport, and the board will all see that communication. So that's how you can communicate with us. Your input is extremely important, just like all the input that we've had from the amenity committees and from the Finance and Planning Committee, from our operations managers, our senior managers, and all this has come into putting this budget together, which we believe is a responsible spending plan, and it'll help advance our board's vision of a welcoming, diverse, residential, gated community with single-family homes and recreational amenities that supports the evolving needs of our members and their families now and in the future. So at this point, we would welcome your comments and questions. Taylor will call on you one by one. We'd ask that with any meeting of the association that you would exercise decorum, which means everybody be nice, and we will be glad to take your comments and questions. We ask that you keep it brief, and we'll respond, and everybody else will hear your comments and hear our replies. So Taylor, could you help us get to the first question? Who'd like to be first?
Yes, so everybody right now is able to unmute themselves if they wish. So if they want to go ahead and do that, then I will recognize them.
Taylor's with our community activities staff. We appreciate her moderating this meeting.
Okay, so thus far no one has unmuted.
Okay. Well, Lord, I hope we didn't bore you to death. We give you this detail so you can appreciate what goes into the budget. And as I said, I know the board members are listening in on this Zoom meeting. And they've already been thinking quite a bit about the budget. This is one of their biggest jobs, is to approve the budget and set the assessment. So please ask a question if you ask, and if you'd like, and we'll make sure that it gets answered tonight.
Just in case anyone is confused, I will send a prompt as well. Feel free to hit no, but if you want to hit yes, then you can.
All right, Taylor, it looks like we are about to wrap up, and I'd like to thank my teammates, Charlie Mandeville, Director of Finance, Bobby Jones, Director of Facilities, and Carolyn Broder, our Communications Manager, soon to be our AGM. And thank you. And as your GM, we appreciate any communications with you on the budget, and I know our board would too. So we thank you very much. And Taylor, thank you for moderating us. You did an excellent job. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, so we'll say goodnight to everybody, and look forward to talking to you in the future.